Thank you for your patience and welcome to CDI's interactive presentation on Common Core estate testing. My name is Glenn Collins and I'll be your host today for today's presentation. Joining me as part of the presentation will be Mike, Chris, and Jim, who will speak to their areas of expertise later on. Certainly we appreciate you taking your time schedule to join us today. We're going to do our best to make the session both interesting and informative. We'd like the session to be as interactive as possible, so we encourage you to please submit your questions throughout the presentation using the question panel in the GoToMeeting control panel, and you can submit those and we will do our best to answer them live and certainly before the end of the presentation. And if you actually stump us with a question we can't answer, we'll do our best to get back to you by email within 24 hours. So, as you all know, ready or not, here comes a Common Core state testing. As states have adopted the Common Core standards for teaching, they're also preparing now for measure the results of those standards. And to do that, we are eliminating, or they are eliminating, traditional paper-based testing, and we'll have online testing, state assessments by the end of 2013, 2014 to be fully implemented by next year. So that's what this is really all about. Is our mission really is to kind of talk to you a little bit about what customers are telling us Common Core testing means to them. So we're going to turn that around and talk in terms of what it likely means to you. We'll talk about some important dates of the process when you have to be fully implemented, things to consider. And then we'll talk in terms of what state of readiness you might be in and just give you some ideas of the challenges that folks have had from a device standpoint, from an infrastructure standpoint, and then other things to consider. Then we'll spend a few minutes talking about CDI and how we have helped others and we can help you accelerate your readiness for state testing. And then we'll conclude by talking about what's next. How do you engage with us if something you saw today interests you, or if you have further questions that you think we might be able to help you with. So that's our agenda for today. So we're going to start with what this means to you. What does Common Core state testing mean to you? Well, it typically means you're going to have some technology challenges between now and 2014, 2015 to get ready for the standards. And in most cases for customers we've been talking to about this for a few months, it means more hardware, software, additional bandwidth, technical assistance of some kind to support their resources, and then professional developments for the test administrators and or staff. So who's participating, or where are you participating? Here's the latest map that we've been able to get for Park and Smarter Balance, for who are part of the consortiums to provide the tests for 2014, 2015. And of those two consortiums, 44 states currently are going to use either Park or Smarter Balance. Of the 44 states, 19 are committed to Park and 25 states are committed to Smarter Balance. And when we show you this so that I'm assuming that most of you know which consortium you're associated with, but this will give you an idea. The states that are not affiliated with either of those either do their own testing or are affiliated with another consortium like Pearson, who does state testing for a number of organizations, or for a number of states, I'm sorry. But it doesn't really matter whether you're part of Park or part of Smarter Balanced. There is a requirement to do online testing for 2014, 2015, and your state standards are very similar to those. So we're going to talk a little bit about those, but if you have specific questions about your state, please submit them and we'll do our best to answer those. So regardless of the organization running the testing, we are finding that most customers are ill-prepared at the moment and have to acquire more technology or upgrade your existing technology to the standard. So we've been talking about, or we as in the education world has been talking about Common Core standards and Common Core testing since 2010 when the last iteration was done. And really it is coming to fruition at the end of this year. So there are a number of schools already that are administering online testing this year as a test or part of the pilot program. And in 2014, 2015, it's mandatory for most of the states that you are available or equipped to handle their online testing. So what we did was we went out and just kind of did some surveys or gathered some information on organizations that are equipped to do that. And this was a survey we found that was done by the Superintendent's Association, and they had surveyed organizations in 46 different states, and they had 497 respondents. And basically from those respondents, 9% said they were fully ready. 18% said that they were prepared, but they needed funding for bandwidth or more equipment. 44% said they lacked 44% said they lacked bandwidth. 51% said they lacked the internal infrastructure, and 58% just plain and simply said they weren't ready. And there was a number of other stats we had available to us, but we thought these were the most prevalent. I guess the message here really is if you're not ready, you're part of the 91% that aren't, and that's why we thought it was good for us to help our customer base in terms of figuring out what they need to do to get ready and then help you get there. The next piece we looked at was a survey that was done by one of the manufacturers. It said, what are you planning on using as a device to do your state testing? And there's quite a bit of flexibility on what's available. 36% said that they were in the planning stages and hadn't tried it. 21% said they were going to use Android tablets. 15% said that they had no plan in place right now or weren't even in the process of planning. 54% said traditional end-user devices like desktops or notebooks, and 20% suggested they use Chromebooks. We also know that there's a number of folks that are going to use iPads. This survey was actually done by an Android supplier, so that's why you don't see the iPads on there. But it does give you an indication of, I guess, the flexibility and the variety of devices you can use. I guess what we want to caution everybody about is whatever choice you make sure it's compatible with the criteria for the state testing, and make sure that it is robust enough to do the state testing in an opportunity. So there are ways of testing your devices, and we'll talk to that shortly, that it will give you the ability, depending on which state you're in, how to find out, but you will be able to determine whether your devices are adequate or not. When we talk about readiness, we've tried to break it down into 3 areas to make it as simple as possible to kind of help you put a plan together. And the first one is end-user devices. Do I have enough, and are they adequate? Next is, do I have enough infrastructure to support the number of students I'll have at a time? And the third is, from a setup perspective, do I have the right security? Do I have a lockdown browser? Do I have a facility that will allow me to do this, and have I thought through all of those things? And then I guess in the same sense is, have I trained the people I need to administer the tests, or have I planned to do that? So those are kind of the 3 areas we look at. The first one being devices, and it's really simple, I guess, is do you have enough devices to support the number of students you need to test? Are the systems you have adequate to do the testing based on the requirements outlined by the testing organization? And if you need to add systems or upgrade devices, what other things should you be thinking about? So you've got 20 days of testing and maybe 30 days of testing a year. If you're going to go out and buy devices, what other uses of those devices do you want to have? So you want to think about adding them so you can do the testing, but you also don't want to have devices that are just used for testing. So those are some considerations to think about in terms of end-user devices. And do I have enough? There is formulas on both PARC and Smarter Balance that will help you with this. But this is a fairly simple chart that we put together using those formulas. And basically it says if my student to computer ratio is 3 to 1, then in order to complete the math and language tests that I need to do, and I'm assuming those machines are available for 6 hours a day minimum, it will take me 4 days to test my entire student population. Now, a couple of things to think about when you're talking about student-to-computer ratios. You have to consider that this isn't your whole school. You can't take into account all of the devices because many of them won't, A, be robust enough, and B, won't be available. So when you think in terms of 3 to 1, you have to think in terms of the devices that will be available to put aside for a period of time, the devices that will be available in a geographic area that is appropriate for doing the testing. So those will be, it may be more like 2 to 1 to get you to 3 to 1 in your overall ratios. So if you go to Smarter Balance website or you go to the Park website, there are calculators on there that allow you to type in the number of devices you have available, the number of students you have to test, the number of hours per day you expect the testing to take place, and it will tell you how many days it would take based on that ratio. As far as how robust the devices have to be, there are minimum specifications. So both Park and Smarter Balance, to help schools prepare, have published technology standards and planning guidelines that allow you to examine the various devices, whether they're desktops, laptops, notebooks, or Chromebooks, or tablets, and see if they are adequate for the testing. In general, the online assessment requires a device with a minimum of 1 gigahertz or faster processor, 1 gigabyte of RAM, at least a gigabyte available of hard drive. We strongly, now both Park and Smarter Balance, and in term other, because I've been to the Texas website, I've been to the Kansas website, and I know that those folks also publish standards, so I encourage you to go to those websites and look at it. But in general terms, they will have 2 sets of standards. They'll have a minimum set of standards and then a recommended set of standards. And I encourage you to look at the recommended set of standards only because the minimum set of standards will likely change by the year 2015 and 16, mostly because XP is going away, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So if you are considering tablets, for example, to utilize for testing, then some of the things you have to consider are screen sizes. So netbooks, Chromebooks, and tablets all have to have a screen size of a minimum of 9.5 inches or greater, and they have to be at least 1024 by 768 in resolution. Typically, if you're running an Android device or a Windows device, it requires the latest operating system in order to support it. And the tablets must have an external keyboard, and it must be it must disenable the virtual keyboard on screen, or you must be able to disenable the virtual keyboard on screen so that it doesn't block the answers, obviously, when the kids are looking at the multiple choice questions, etc. And while they say you can use wireless keyboards or Bluetooth keyboards for tablets, we strongly don't recommend them. If you have a bunch of them in a single area, they tend to interfere with each other, and you end up with one child's keyboard talking to another tablet. So if you're looking at tablets or you're looking at any kinds of tablets, make sure there's an attachable keyboard as opposed to a Bluetooth keyboard. There's some other reasons that make sense as well from a battery life perspective, etc. And then you have to consider other peripheral devices, not just from a tablet standpoint, but from any standpoint. So you might need other peripheral devices such as mice or headsets with earphones or microphones for certain subjects and test students and tests, and for students who need speech recognition to text to speech feature for some of their product, for some of the testing. So as I mentioned earlier, and again I encourage you to submit questions throughout the presentation if you see something you have a question about. I will tell you that XP, as you may or may not know, is being unsupported as of April of this year, and as a result, 2015 2016 will require you to upgrade your OS. So if you're looking at adding devices, or you're looking at upgrading devices to be suitable for the testing, it may make sense to do it all at once and move to Windows 7. And that often requires a memory upgrade or potentially a hard drive upgrade, etc. And we'd be happy to walk you through that process and help you do those things. As a matter of fact, we're about to release a program in terms of just upgrading those operating systems. So we're going to talk about that. But you will need to have Windows 7 installed by 2015, 2016, so that it's available for the testing. You do have the ability, by the way, to test both your systems and your infrastructure using both Park and Smarter Balance. Have a website you can go to that will actually test the device that you're thinking of using. So this sample on the screen is the Park testing site, and I will send out an email with both of those links at the end of the presentation, because I understand that this is actually not the right link. We thought it was, but it's not. I need to update that, and customers told me that they didn't get there. So we do have the right links. We'll send them out at the end of the test. But in essence, in both cases, you have the ability to do two things. You have the ability to test the system to make sure that it will do everything it needs to do to meet the minimum specifications for the state testing. And you have the ability to test the capacity of your network or your infrastructure. So in this case, you would type in a number of criteria, how many children you have, what the bandwidth is, et cetera, and it will tell you whether you need to upgrade your infrastructure or not. So I encourage you to start looking at those things now, because if you're going to be doing the upgrades for the summer, for example, obviously you need to start planning to do that now. So that's as far as I'm going to go today. I am going to now introduce to you our sales manager, from McKean, who is going to take you through a little bit of information about CDI and talk a little bit about what we think we could do to help you get ready for the tests. And that's about it. Take it away, Mike.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. For those of you that are familiar with CDI, I may sound a little redundant, but I promise to make it quick. CDI is one of North America's largest distributors of technology-based solutions to the education market. We have currently worked with over 10,000 educational customers throughout North America, providing these customers with speed and customer service for more than 30 years. We offer 3 tiers of product: new, factory recertified, and refurbished. Brand name Tier 1 technology at substantial savings while providing the best warranty coverage in the industry. As a company, our main focus is the education market. We make it our business to understand the challenges you face when it comes to integrating technology into education, and as a result, we're uniquely situated to help you get ready for the upcoming online state testing. I wanted to just spend a few moments to explain how we can help make sure you are ready from a device perspective. So, as I just mentioned, we offer a variety of flexible, cost-effective solutions to help get you ready. And the first one I wanted to talk about was our offering of brand new products. Tier 1 brands that you would be familiar with currently now in desktops and notebooks, and also in tablets. Desktops start as low as $599, notebooks as low as $529, and tablets starting as low as $289. Our factory refurbished products are the same Tier 1 brand names, again, that you're familiar with. They are refurbished by the manufacturer. There's big savings and different warranty options. Again, desktops, notebooks, and tablets. Desktops starting at $589, notebooks at $599, and tablets starting at $399. On the left side of this slide, you'll see CDI has bundled these into kind of Park and Smarter Balance bundles, which would allow you to purchase and be online testing as they arrive at your location. Last but not least is our CDI recertified product line. This has been our stronghold for the past 32 years. All the brand names that you're familiar with, a full test and audit refurbishment by CDI, and drastic savings. Best warranty in the industry, and desktops that start as low as $159 and notebooks starting as little as $349. Tablets, real popular conversation and a cost-effective way to add devices that can also be used for state testing. CDI has a number of offerings in this form factor, including the UnoBook. The UnoBook is a 9.7 Android tablet that comes complete with keyboard and protective case. The device meets all the technology criteria required by both Park and Smarter Balance, and the device starts at $289 and packed with headphones and a keyboard and a 3-year warranty sells less than $310. A variety of Windows tablets starting as low as $350. Again, whatever tablets you choose, it must have a minimum screen size of 9.7 inches with a high enough resolution and an attachable keyboard are required for these devices for the online testing. If a tablet is your preferred device, ask your CDI sales rep to provide you with a price and specification, or you may want to attend one of our upcoming webinars on tablets and education being held in February. Last but not least, peripherals and upgrades have become a common conversation, and I wanted to just go over a few of them that may help you enable to get ready for the online testing. CDI offers carts for secure storage, charging, and easy transportation of notebooks and or tablets, headphones and mics that may be required for some of your devices. If you just needed to simply upgrade some of your current systems, and we can offer you the parts you need to increase memory and or drive size. And if you are interested in trading in some of your older systems as opposed to upgrading them, you should speak with your CDI rep about that. There may be an opportunity for us to work with you in that vein. I hope this gives you an idea on how we can help you with your device needs should you need to buy more or upgrade any of your existing systems. Just before I turn the presentation over to Chris, I wanted to take a quick poll to find out how many of you anticipate having to buy additional systems in order to get ready for online testing.
So we've launched the poll. We'll leave it open for, let's say, another 10 seconds. All right. And Mike, you had one more I think you wanted to add?
Yes, and for those that were going to be adding systems, could you please provide us with an idea of what type of device you anticipate adding?
All right, we've, have I launched this? I thought I did. Right, there we go. Okay, so you want to introduce Chris, and we'll leave this open while we're going through that.
Thanks again, everyone, for your time. I'm going to turn the presentation over to Chris Kaiser, our Enterprise Systems Specialist, who will talk about the infrastructure requirements for online testing.
Excellent. I'm just going to close that poll, and we'll move on.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Chris Kaiser, and as Mike mentioned, I work with the Enterprise Solutions Group here at CDI. This is online testing, and your network must be able to reliably transport the testing data to the internet. There are a few limiting factors that determine how many students per site can take the test simultaneously. Number of endpoints, number of laptops and tablets is one of those limiting factors, obviously. Bandwidth is unfortunately a limiting factor as well. You'll see on the screen I have some guidelines up that have been released by Park and Smarter Balance regarding how much bandwidth you will require at each of your testing locations for the number of students that you are looking to test simultaneously. If you're unsure about how much bandwidth you currently have available at your site, you can run a bandwidth testing tool. Just keep in mind that any internet usage, anything downloads, anything you have going on at the time of the bandwidth test will impact the testing results. So try to run these tests at a time that there's no people using the internet connection at your sites. If you have locations that are on sites that are on older connections, like a T1 or an older DSL, something like that, you can still run the tests. You'll just have to run fewer simultaneous tests at the same time, or you might experience some latency or delay during when the tests are being run. Up on the next screen is a topology diagram. Obviously, CDI, we aren't an internet service provider. We don't sell bandwidth. You'll have to talk to your local carrier, your local service providers in your respective areas to be able to make changes to that internet connection. But where CDI can help you is everything behind the internet connection, everything from the router all the way down in between, so obviously the clients, desktops, the laptops, the wireless clients that you're going to be running on. So some of these things could be your router or your gateway device. This device is often responsible for gaining the visibility into what you're using the bandwidth for and what you're utilizing the bandwidth for, so you can better control what that bandwidth is going to be used for and how much of it might be available for online testing when the time comes to need to leverage that bandwidth for the testing. Switching infrastructure, wireless infrastructure, anything used to facilitate the growth of adding these clients, adding these new testing endpoints to your environment. Up on the screen I have some prices for some switches. We can do Cisco Catalyst switches, HP ProCurve switches, obviously large price ranges depending on the type of features you need in a switch. We can do 1, 2-year, 3-year, all the way up to 5-year warranties on most, if not all, of our switching and server products. CDI can also help you with your wireless networks as well. If you're adding wireless clients to any of your sites, we can help you either increase the number of access points or any licensing that you might require to do that as well. So it's a little bit about our enterprise options. If you are interested, I would be happy to discuss making changes to any of your environments, any of your infrastructure at any of your locations. Just before I turn the presentation over to Jim, I would like to run a quick poll. If you could please let us know what areas of infrastructure you might be looking to make some changes in order to meet the online testing, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. So we'll just leave that poll up for a minute or so, and then we'll have Jim join us for his piece. All right, I'm going to leave that up for 5 more seconds. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, everyone. At this point, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Jim Drone, who's going to talk about financing options and in particular a short-term rental program designed specifically for the online testing. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chris. My name, again, is Jim Drone, and I manage Vernon Technology Solutions, which is the rental division of CDI. And I'd just like to cover a few points here in terms of our financing options. One, of course, the CDI offers provided financing options to help you get ready for online testing, and the standard purchase terms that we offer, in addition to our great pricing, provides our customers 30 days from the date of invoice to pay. And we have a variety of leasing options that allow for flexibility in term length and buyout options. And CDI has also developed a lifecycle program called PODO, and this is CDI's perpetual one-to-one program designed specifically for education and make sure you always have relevant technology. But what I really want to talk to you about today is a short-term rental program that we've put together in in consideration of state testing. And this is designed for schools who want to add systems just for the online testing period. There we go, jumped ahead. So what do short-term rental solutions offer for you? What do they help you address? One element that we rentals can assist you with is proof of concept, allowing you to try before you buy. Some of the feedback we've had from the education market is that lab space might be an issue, and rentals will allow you to utilize temporary space, a library, a gym, or a cafeteria, for example. Other feedback we've had is relevant to budget. As the state testing is approaching, capital budgets may be spent, and operating budgets might be available, and rentals are technically considered an operating expense. We always offer flexible term lengths, and should capital become available or desirable to purchase, there's always a convert to ownership in our rental programs. We also have heard that this pending testing has some stress on internal IT resources, and as such, we've built CDI Rentals to provide essentially a test center in a box. It's secure, it's image loaded, and it's essentially plug and play. So what do rental solutions include? Well, we've considered that they need to and will include the units to be pre-configured both to the test requirements, and this would include headphones and all the peripheral devices, as well as to your specific client requirements. We will have the URL access locked and USB ports disabled to meet the security requirements of the testing. And our pricing includes both the shipping in and the installation at your site and the removal. And then these rentals are priced by number of units based on your site and geographic regions. And we include both wire or wireless options. From terms of pricing, we have 1 month rental starting from as low as $96 a seat, and 3 months from as low as $69 a seat. And our typical configuration considers 32 units, and you could maybe work back from the chart that was discussed earlier from a unit required to meet the number of students required for the testing and the time periods to drive your actual rental requirement. But if you are considering renting, we would like to encourage you to schedule a call with us, with the rental team, and build out a formal statement of work to discuss your particular requirements and customize your rentals. We'd also request that you seek to book early, because we will have limited availability on some of our rental bundles. So that's it in terms of our rental solution. And just before I turn it back over to Glenn, I'd like to do a quick poll, to get a feel for your numbers, or the numbers of you that might be interested in short-term rental option as a solution to help you over the online testing period. Glenn, you're going to launch that poll.
I did, sir. So it should be up on the screen now. We're getting responses. We'll leave that open for another 5 seconds. Okay. I'm going to close it, Jim.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. And I'll just pass the mic back over to Glenn. Glenn?
Thanks, Jim. So that's kind of the part of the formal presentation. We've gone through the pieces we wanted to cover. I haven't seen any questions yet, so again, we'd love to get your input. And I'm just going to kind of summarize what the top 6 things we think you need to do to kind of get ready. Inventory your devices at each school and compare those to Park and Smarter Balance technology requirements or specifications to determine how many of your current devices meet those requirements, and then do the math to figure out how many you need to do the testing in a period of time that's acceptable to both the requirements and your consideration at your locations. So the next is, what peripherals do I need to add in terms of the testing? So physical keyboards for tablets, mice, the headsets with microphones for certain subjects and students that might need speech recognition or text-to-speech features. Next, you might want to evaluate the school's infrastructure to include the maximum number of students that can, so that you understand how many students you can support with your current infrastructure to do the test at the same time. This includes, just the physical locations. Where can you put them? Do I have enough power in those rooms? Do I have enough internet drops? Do I have the adequate wireless coverage, etc.? Then you have to look at your factors to consider, include incoming internet connectivity and bandwidth, as Chris talked about, your internal bandwidth, etc., for handling the number of students testing simultaneously, and the number of test devices that are going to be connected. And again, typically there's a huge influx of bandwidth required that may not normally be required because of the number of students online at the same time. And then there's quite a bit of consideration around security, both from a secure network, etc., but from a lockdown browser, which you can test on your devices from Smarter Balanced or Park. But you need to make sure that you lock out the USB ports, etc. So there's a set of criteria that both Park and Smarter Balanced will provide to you, and I assume the other states will as well, in terms of how you can get the machines ready to make sure they're secure. And then, as we are talking to you now, and this is going to take place sometime in the next school year, obviously planning ahead we think is a requirement for a number of reasons. One is to make sure you find and get the adequate funding to do what you need to do, and to consider all the alternatives so that you aren't making decisions in haste. So we encourage you strongly to plan, and if there's parts of the plan that you think we can help you with, obviously we'd be happy to do that. So in terms of why we think you might want to consider staying engaged with us, we can offer you one-stop shop. I think you saw that today, from devices to a network infrastructure to financing. We have a variety of devices to offer you, from tablets to desktops to notebooks to netbooks. We probably have the best value in the industry in terms of recertified product, whether it's factory refurbished or CDI certified product, has the best warranty in the business. And we can help you with all your infrastructure needs, from a switch, router, etc. And Chris talked about that. We got some great value in those areas. We carry a full line of peripherals, so we'll be able to help you with the headsets, upgrades on current systems, etc. We live in the education space, so we do our best to understand the full requirement and certainly talk to you about an individual organization and specific requirements and how we can help you. And Jim talked about our flexible financing plans and our rental programs. So we think we can help you get ready and save some money as you go through that process. So what are the next steps for you? Well, if you saw something you liked today, then we strongly encourage you to reach out to your CDI sales rep and request either further information or some pricing. You can contact the presenters at the following information. If you're not sure who your CDI rep is, then you call that toll-free number at the bottom. They will provide you with the person that's responsible for your location. So I haven't had any questions posed to us. That either means we were really good or really boring. I'm not sure which, but I'm hoping it's the earlier. If you do have any questions, you have my email address, Glenn Collins, cdikomputers.com, that came with the invitation for the webinar. I encourage you to send me any questions you have, and we will do our best to get back to you. So on behalf of the team here at CDI and our sales reps who are looking after you, we thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. We hope you found the session both interesting and informative, and we look forward to talking to you all in the near future. Have a great day.